So hello to everyone online. Hopefully you can see me. Give thumbs up if they can. Can you look and make sure everybody can see me, hear me well? Perfect. I'm seeing some thumbs up. So hello everyone. My name is JJ Wallace. I am an associate professor of health and exercise science at Transylvania University here in Lexington. I've been at Transy for 8 full years. This is starting my ninth year in the health and exercise science program. And I am also currently the program director of the health and exercise science program. In addition to that, I hold a position in our Bingham Center for Teaching Excellence called the Digital Liberal Arts Fellow. It's a 2 year position and I'm in my second year, where I focus on helping other faculty utilize digital technologies in the classroom to enhance the classroom experience for students. I'm from Harlan County. Does anybody know where Harlan County? Yeah, you're born in Harlan. I was born in Harlan. I'm from Everett. So here, if you don't know, we've got Kentucky, we've got Lexington, and we've got little Harlan here from this little tiny town called Everett. Down here in the bottom corner, for those of you online, it's right there.
We're not sharing.
Oh, we're not sharing screen. Let's share our screen. Yeah, we're seeing it now. All right. So I am from Harlan County, which is this teeny tiny little place down here in the southeastern corner. This is Virginia. We're one county from Tennessee, and then Lexington's way up here at this little dot. So I'm from the hills of Harlan County, and I was fortunate enough to be able to attend Berea College, if you're familiar with Berea. I was poor and from the mountains, so they loved me. And they were like, absolutely, you can come to Berea College. And there I majored in physical education with a minor in health. And when I got finished, I did not know what I wanted to do with my life. So I said, well, I guess I'll go get a master's degree. So then I went to EKU, got a master's degree, worked as a graduate assistant there, teaching some classes. And that's first started to realize I liked teaching a lot, because I was teaching those, some of the undergrad classes and other things. And I was like, I kind of really like this. But I graduated and I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with my life. So I said, I'm going to get a job. So I was able and lucky enough to get a job at Shriners Hospital for Children here in Lexington, Kentucky. I started out as a research assistant for about 4 or 5 months. And then after that, I was able to get a job as the kinesiologist in their motion analysis laboratory. And I was able to utilize all the things I've learned through my undergraduate and graduate career to help children with musculoskeletal conditions learn to do activities of daily living more appropriately and easier. And so we did a lot of biomechanical testing. And so if you've ever seen how they make movies and video games where they put dots on people and they're running around with green screens and stuff. Well, that's biomechanics. And that's like the movie magic, they call it, but they stole it from us first. It started in research labs. And so we utilize that kind of technology to measure how people move. And I absolutely fell in love with biomechanics doing this. And I knew I wanted to get a PhD. So that's when I decided to go part-time to UK. And as I was working at Shriners, I also went to UK and got my PhD in biomechanics, which again, is my favorite thing in the whole world. I just love it. And biomechanics is a field that's really been rooted in technology for a long time. We were using technology before technology was cool. And we were using it to measure the human body and how it moves. What I want to tell you is that what I am not is a engineer. I'm not a computer scientist. I'm not an AI expert. But what I am is someone who asks a lot of questions, and I do a lot of research. And so I feel like I'm able to give people information about topics that they can go and then do their own research about. And so that's sort of the way I approach this thing. Again, I'm not an AI expert. I don't know if there are AI experts out there, right? Maybe the people making them, but not me for sure. A little bit of a disclaimer. So when I make these presentations, I have utilized AI in other ways that can help me create things like images and pictures. So anytime I've created an image with AI, it will be created at the bottom of the screen. And anytime that I have utilized images or text that I have co-created with AI, you will see that in some capacity, whether I put an asterisk or if I say this was made by AI. So I always try to be as transparent with you as possible with what I created and what the AI created. So the first thing we have to do to talk about this topic is to understand what AI is. So AI is a field of computer science, and it's sort of rooted in the ability to get a computer to do something that humans do. And I say think, we know computers don't think, but we get computers to do the tasks that humans do. And that includes things like learning, reasoning, problem solving, perceiving things, as well as understanding both written and auditory language. You may have heard the words large language models, and this is sort of the area of AI that we have been working with for a while now. And this is the area of AI that really exploded across the scene with like ChatGPT was the big one at first, right? So ChatGPT is a type of large language model. And what these models do is they utilize an enormous amount of information and data, mostly text data, and they use relationships between words to make patterns to then understand language. And so some people think it's a little bit like predictive text. So when you're typing and it tries to predict the next word, that's different than AI. AI is more sophisticated, and what it doesn't predict the next word that you usually use. It uses a very sophisticated mathematical algorithm in the background that gives you sort of it's trying to recreate language the way a human would speak to you. And one of the ways in which the large language models work is through what's called a generative pre-trained transformer, or a GPT. That's where ChatGPT gets its name. So ChatGPT is AI. It is a large language model, and it uses something called a generative pre-trained transformer. And that means that the GPT is all about you give it a bunch of information, and that's how it learns speech patterns that humans do, and then it will mimic that when you ask it questions. So GPTs are large language models that focus on creating new content rather than just regurgitating old content or repeating content back to you. So what happens then when we take these generative AI programs, these GPTs and large language models, and we talk to them? Because that's effectively what we're doing. We're having a conversation with this AI. And what we're doing is in the background, before you ever have a conversation with AI, AI has to be trained. And that's the first step in creating an AI. You train it. And almost all of these AIs today have access to the live internet. Anything that's on the internet that's not behind a paywall, AI will have access to. So if I don't lock down like my social media to just my friends and it's open to the world, AI can find it. If I post something on a public forum, AI can find it. If I make a website and it's not locked down, AI can find it. So if it's on the internet, not behind a paywall, AI has access to it. A few years ago, that wasn't the case. AI was not having live access to the internet. When we talked about before training, we talked about data sets, that this AI was only trained up to the end of 2024, meaning that it would know nothing that happened in 2025. You could ask it all day long, what happened in 2025, and it wouldn't know. Now, however, AI has access to the live internet, meaning that it is constantly retraining on new information. So the first thing that has to happen is that AI gets trained. We give it information. Right now, it has access to all information on the internet. And what it does is it looks at all that information and looks for patterns. And it creates really large mathematical patterns between all the information that it has. Once it's created all of those relationships between words that it finds, it does something called fine tuning. That's when something's in beta. You ever heard of something being tested? It's in beta. That means that maybe not everyone has access to it. Only some people do. Maybe everybody does. But what you're doing is you know that the beta program is going to have more errors in it than the established program, okay? The tested program. So when we're fine-tuning something, we're looking at these relationships that it has. When we ask it a question, it then will tell us an answer, and we tell it and we fine tune it, telling it whether it did a good job. That's why if you've ever seen on AI programs thumbs up or thumbs down, you should use those because what you're telling the AI is that, yes, you did a good job. You're fine tuning it. You're telling it what you want it to do and what is correct. And then after something's fine tuned, then we use the AI to get responses as accurately as we possibly can out of it. And so it's this really long process that it takes to get an AI program from the development training stage all the way through to giving it out to the public. And you may have seen some news about ChatGPT recently where they rolled out a new one and they had to roll it back from access for people. And that was because somewhere in here it went wrong. And the way I like to explain this to people is that the training process, if you asked it a question and you said, can you fill in the blank? And you said, roses are red, violets are blank. What is it going to say to you? It's going to say blue. Why is it going to say blue? Probably 100% of it. You could ask it 100 times, it's going to say blue every time. Why is that? And that's because those words in that sequence are all over the place. There nowhere is someone writing roses are red, violets are green. No one's saying that, right? So it's not known as part of the training. So when you're over here or over here in response generation where you're asking it questions, it's going to go with what it thinks is the most likely response or a response that it could potentially be. And what I like to tell people as well is that if it's something that's really well used like that, like poems, like that, like roses are red, violets are blue, it's going to tell you blue. But what if you're asking it questions that has more than one answer or has a contention between answers or could have 20 different answers? Then depending on the context, how you ask the question, how it's sort of finding information, it could tell you 10 different answers, right? So thinking about what this thing is doing is going to be really, really important in understanding why it's telling you something when you have talked to it. So there's a lot of different terminology utilized with AI, and I want to make sure we're all clear on what these things are. So chatbots are AI. The difference is they are fact-based, and they usually have a predetermined pathway. So this is when you call your credit card company and it says, what are you calling for? I can help you. And you say, it says, give me a few words, right? So based off keywords, it's going to try to funnel you down one pathway or another with predefined information. And you're screaming into the phone, give me a person, right? I need a human person, a customer service representative. Can help you. No, you can't. I'm a person, right? So that is a chatbot. It only has a predefined pathway that it can utilize. And it's, oh, okay, maybe I need to give you a person because I can't help you. That's a chatbot. It is a form of AI because it's recognizing human language and trying to give you answers. The difference with the chatbot is that it has predetermined outcomes. Then we have something called the AI assistant. This is the realm that I live in and that I'm encouraging others in education to live in, because an assistant is more robust support and help. And what you do is you actually take an AI model and you train it specifically for what you want it to do. So this would be me taking ChatGPT, bringing it into my classroom and giving it all the information I'm going to give my students. So any of the readings that I'm going to give them, any of my PowerPoint presentations, any of the homework, all the homework answers, it would live inside this AI assistant. And then I would tell it how to interact with my students. And then I would give this like an app to my students. And my students utilize the AI chatbot, and it does not look on the internet for information. It only uses the information that I give it. So it's using the base model of understanding language and questions to then only talk about the things that I give it access to. So it's an assistant. It helps you. Just about a week ago, I was working with the CAPE, the Center for Academic and Professional Enrichment at Transy. So this is where people go to get help with resumes, with cover letters, with interview skills, internships, all of those things. And we built a custom Transy resume helper. assistant. It's called AI, or it was called Resume Buddy. We called it Resume Buddy. And what we did was we trained it on how to make good resumes and told it not to do certain things with students and then do certain things with students before the student then brings that resume in to see an actual person. They get a little bit of guidance. It's almost like a TA, like a teaching assistant or a helper that's going to look at it or a peer. And instead of, coming into their room, I don't know what to do, right? Which we get a lot of in education. Now our students can get to this buddy and help, and it helps them get started with a template. It asks questions. Hey, what kind of job are you looking at, or an internship, or what are you applying for? And it's going, and based off of all that information, it's going to point them in the direction of a correct type of resume. So that's what an assistant can do for you. And I think we live really, really well in this area because we're still in the driver's seat here. Yes, the AI is underneath all of that, right? And it can be a little bit of a black box, but ultimately we are setting the parameters. What I'm a little bit weary of at the moment are AI agents. And so an AI agent is a fully autonomous AI. You turn that sucker on and it does things without you ever asking it to. So it could go online for you and it could look at your shopping cart. Maybe you got a smart fridge, it's looking at what's in your fridge and it's ordering food for you. When you run out of mayonnaise, it knows and it orders it and it ships it to your house, right? That would be an agent, something that would know what to do, and do things on its own. Now, I've just actually read 2 days ago that companies want this, right? They want to make workflows more efficient and they want to have these AI agents in the background doing tasks, right? And when that's happening, though, upwards of 40% of the time, the agent's doing something wrong. And that's a big margin of error right now, right? So that's one of the reasons that I'm a little wary of agents at the moment. They're just not where they need to be in terms of accuracy, in my opinion, to get the most out of them. And I think it would also depend on what task you're letting it do, right? If all it's doing is taking files from here and dumping them over here, maybe it would be fine. I don't know, right? But more complicated tasks that usually humans do, it's not doing that well. Errors 40% of the time. That's a little scary to me. So this is sort of where we're living with AI. We have chatbots, we have assistants, we have agents, we have just ChatGPT and Gemini and all these other programs hanging out there, right? And some people are like, maybe it'll go away. It's not going away. It's going to be everywhere. And when you look at the amount of money these artificial intelligence companies are going to make, projected, this is market size from 2024 all the way to 2034. And these are in billions of dollars until you get to 2027 when we're projected to have $1 trillion, all the way up to almost $7 trillion in market size in the next 10 years. That is an insane amount of money, right? That's like our government deficit pieces of that, right? I mean, think about that. That's $3-4 trillion. And what's also interesting is if you look at the chart on your right-hand side, this was how ChatGPT, how fast it got to 1 million users. So if you look at this, back in 1999, when Netflix first appeared, they were mailing out discs to people. It took them 3.5 years to get 1 million users. You skip on down to Facebook, and it was opened in 2024. It took 10 months to get 1 million users. Instagram, 2.5 months. ChatGPT did it in 5 days. 1 million people in 5 days were using this program back when it was opening in 2022. That's insane, right? That is just, it blows my mind to think about that. It took 5 days from the day it opened. So how is this AI impacting our society? It's everywhere. My students about 2 years ago made this word cloud for me. I said, where are you seeing AI? And as you can see with the words on the screen, they were seeing it everywhere. It was in human resources, agriculture, environmental protection, streaming services, jobs, smart cities, marketing, social media, supply chain, the creative arts. It was everywhere, and it still is. And it's getting more proliferative every day. And what I like to say is that it can impact all the things that we're doing, right? It can help us make decisions. It can automate certain routine tasks for us. It can, again, be a personalized assistant, just like that AI assistant that I was telling you about that I create for my students. It's a way to enhance skill development and training. So you can train this AI in a specific job and then have that training AI train employees, right? Innovation and creativity. I have to tell you, I am absolutely horrible at titles, presentations, and I do a lot of presentations. I'm just like, AI is good. We should use it. That's not a great title, right? And so I'm putting my title in Chat GPT, and I'm like, give me 15 different ways you could turn this around and make a cool acronym out of it. It does it for me. I am not creative, okay? I'm a scientist, right? It just doesn't come naturally to me. So it actually helps me be more creative, which is really amazing. And it can do things like helping with work-life balance by managing your calendar, helping you with tasks, prioritizing tasks. You can do so many things. It's really limited by the imagination of the user and the capabilities of the program itself, right? Those are the two limitations. And the capabilities are changing every single day. Like I subscribe to AI newsletters and I get them 2 or 3 times a week. And something in that letter blows my mind. If they're doing that with AI, oh my gosh, right? This new thing every week, we're getting new things. It's a constant stream of change. So now this is for you. What AIs are you using and how are you using them? So what are you all using? This is where you get to say something to me. And don't be like my students and just stare at me like they did this morning. Don't do that. So what AIs have you used? Anybody use email?
I've used it for my workshops, like the watch tips. It used to be watch tips, Apple Watch tips, and now it's Apple Watch. It's running more than that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not my creative.
Right, but AI helps you, right?
Yes.
Telling more than time. That's nice. I like that. Yeah. Yeah. Which program did you use to do that?
I used Copilot.
Copilot. Yeah. So that's a good place to start too. And anybody online can say things too if they'd like, and maybe somebody can yell them out to me. But what AIs have you heard of? So Copilot comes from Microsoft. We talked about Chat GPT today, which is from OpenAI. You may know of any other ones? Google has Gemini. Yeah, Gemini from Google. We're talking about the big ones, right? Big companies here. So Microsoft Copilot, OpenAI's ChatGPT, Google Gemini. What is it?
With Android.
Yeah, Android has Bixby. Yep, which is based off of actually ChatGPT. Yeah, yeah. Anybody use any other ones? There's one called Claude from a group called Anthropic. It is the most ethical AI that there is. And that Anthropic company is leading the charge in the development of AI ethically. And I don't think they get enough buzz and enough credit for the work that they're doing. They're doing work all the time to make AI not just more usable, but more ethical. And so then you've also got, what is it? Amazon has AWS or Amazon Web Services. Have you seen that? You may be watching sports on TV and say statistics powered by AWS, right? What that is an AI taking all the statistics and making predictions, right? So Amazon Web Services has their own AI. Musk has Grok, right? He's made Grok. Yeah, right. So we have all of these AIs that are competing, and those are just the ones you hear about more often. There are so many models of AIs. There is a website called Hugging Face. I know that sounds weird, right? But it's called Hugging Face, and it has thousands of AIs that you can download to your computer and train to your heart's content to do anything you want. And some of them are free and some of them are paid. It just depends on what it is. And you don't have to live on the cloud of AI, right? Which is what all of these other ones are cloud-based AIs, where they're living in some data center somewhere that they're building. So we can, though, see AI everywhere. As soon as you pick up your phone, AI is Apple Intelligence if you have an Apple, or it's going to be Gemini if you have Android, and they are ready to go. They're constantly listening. It's made we thought before that it was crazy that our phones listen to us and then tailor our content online to it. It's even more so now because now they're not just powered by algorithms and math, they're powered by the large language model math, which is more robust and bigger. It's not just anymore looking at patterns that you're doing, but it's looking at all the things it can find about you, right? And using that to tailor information to you. So it is every single where. It's everywhere. It's all over the place. So how do we talk to it? And I think this is something that's so important because it is being touted as the #1 job skill of the century. So employers want employees that can utilize AI effectively and efficiently and appropriately. Okay. And so the first thing that I teach anyone who's new to AI, whether it's my students, whether it's other faculty, is how to talk to it because it is like a conversation. And we are so used to something like Google search, right? So we go to Google. We've been taught to do this for years, right? Google and the internet is just like a library, right? Every single web page is indexed with keywords. And those keywords, when you put them in, that's why you get a list of websites. Just like back in the day when we had the library, we had the card catalog, which I tell the story to my students and they look at me like, I don't know what a card catalog is. And I'm like, I used the card catalog. All right. So you had the books indexed by keywords and themes, and you went to the card catalog and it showed you where the things were, right? That's actually how the internet works. How Google search works is we have, all the keywords linked to websites. And so what we do when we're searching Google is we put keywords in there, right? I want cat videos that are funny, right? You could say that to it, right? Or if you're looking for academic information, we teach our students to use Boolean operators like the ands and the ors and the not. I want cat videos, but not dogs, right? So that it narrows down your search criteria. So we've been teaching students now for ever since the internet started how to do searching appropriately to find information that would be relevant. And usually we tell people to keep it simple because that's the best way in Google to get information. Keep it simple. But that goes out the window with AI because AI doesn't work on indexed words. It works on relationships between words. And so you can talk to this just like I'm talking to you right now because it's a large language model that understands language and the relationships between words and what those words mean in context. That before computers have never been able to do this. So when you're prompting AI, you're no longer using keywords. You're using full sentences. You're asking it questions. And the key there is giving context that you want it to know. It's going to give you a written response. Sometimes if you ask it for an image or a video, it'll give you that. It might give you audio, depending on what type that you want. But we're going to focus on text right now. So you ask it words and it responds back with words. Well, maybe the response you get, you read that and you're like, you know what? I really need more information about this. So you follow up with questions, or you didn't like the answer. You're like, well, change your answer, or regenerate this, and let's look at it this other way, right? You can change anything about that response. And the tip here is the more information you give the AI, the more it's able to give you what you want. And I call this garbage in, garbage out. If you give a garbage prompt to the AI, it will give you a garbage answer. It will not give you the type of answer that you're looking for. Now, if all you need is a list of dog breeds, then that's fine. It'll give you a list of dog breeds. But couldn't you have found that in a Google search? Yeah, absolutely. Right? Probably quicker and easier and with a way less impact on the environment and other ethical things, right? So when to use AI appropriately and when to continue using Google search is something that I talk about with my students all the time. Can you solve this problem by looking up information on Google? Or is this so nuanced that you need the AI to help you? That is the difference. So let's talk about when you are talking to the AI, what do? I have 3 steps. First step is prompt specificity. You want to be clear, you want to be concise, you want to tell AI either who you are, what is your role, or what the role you want it to play. Because you can do that. You can tell the AI to answer in a certain way, or you can tell the AI who you are, and it will tailor the answer to you. So you can give it a role or tell it its role. You can give it examples if you have them. And if you have a really long problem, you're going to break it up into steps. We call this chaining, and I can't tell you how much I'm emphasizing this with students. Because if you have 10 different things you want it to do and you give it all 10 at once, it gets step 2 wrong, then every step after that is wrong, has errors in it. So errors compound. So you go step by step with the AI to ensure that errors don't occur, and you can keep your answer in the work that you're doing more accurate along the way. So let's do an example. So we need information on how to use AI in everyday life, which is what we're learning about right now, right? So what would be my specific prompt? My prompt would say, I am an adult who is new to AI. That's the context. I've told it who I am. I want to be able to use AI in my everyday life. That's my need. Okay. I am especially concerned about how to use AI appropriately and the ethical implications of using AI. So here is the clear and concise. I'm given a role. I didn't need an example right now. And I haven't really broken anything up into steps yet, right? But I've given it a clear and concise sort of outline of who I am and what I want. But now the next step, before we even talk to the AI, is we got to give it guidelines. This is where you outline what do you want it to output. If you don't specify an output, it does whatever it wants, whatever it thinks is the best for that output. It might put things in bullet points. It might give you just words everywhere. It might give you a list. It might give you a table. So whatever it thinks is the best. But you can specify that. You can say, I want paragraphs. I want you to talk to, create this in a certain tone, maybe an argumentative tone or an evidence-based tone. Specify length if you'd like. I want in 1 paragraph or give me 10 examples. You can really outline for it what you want. So let's be specific with our guidelines. So provide a 1 paragraph explanation of what AI is. Then list in bullet points how it could be useful in everyday life. And lastly, in 100 words, tell me about the ethical implications of using AI. So we put all of that together, and this is what you put in the AI. You don't just say, how can I use AI in my everyday life? You could ask it that, but will you get the nuanced response that you would hear? You won't. That's the garbage in, garbage out, right? The more you give it, the more it will know, and the more it will give you context for what you've asked. So I put this prompt in the AI. So this was the response from AI when I asked it to define the AI. Now, this was the list of ways in which you could use AI in your everyday life. Sorry, the text is small. Again, you'll have access to this. You can always go back and take a look at it. It says that we can use this for personalized entertainment. So Netflix or Spotify can do things for you, right, with AI. Creative assistance, which I think we've already talked about that we've done before. Smart home management, online shopping, effective communication. It's got a list for us of all these things that AI can do for us in our everyday life. And now it's telling us about ethical considerations, which we're going to get to hopefully in the next few minutes. And so after that, so we got this really nice response that we outlined from the AI. This is when you refine your response. This is when you look at what it said and you're like, okay, what do I need now? Do I need more information about one of the things that it talked about? Instead of a list, did I want it to give me a chart or a table, or did I want it to write it out into a paragraph? Changing the format, the tone, or any other guideline that I can think of. So based off of what it said, I responded back, based on your response, using AI could be helpful in my everyday life. are there skills related to using AI that I need to know in order to use this technology effectively and responsibly? So what other skills do I need? So that was my follow-up question. And it told me that to use AI effectively, I need to know proper crafting of the AI response, which is what we just learned, critical thinking, iterative refinement, which is the chaining, right? So the ability to ask the big questions in smaller snippets, ethical awareness, privacy protections, and fact checking. So all of these are skills that I also need to employ to use AI effectively and responsibly. So we put all that together. It's a pretty good, robust conversation, right? That we just had with the AI. So when you're thinking about asking AI for something, it's really important to think about these 3 steps because this is how you're going to get a better response. And this is how you're going to get a response that is useful to you for whatever tasks that you need it for. Again, you should have access to this. So we will make sure y'all get that if you don't have it.
We'll put the link in the newsletter in December.
We're going to put the link in the newsletter in December. Perfect. All right. So AI is a great collaborator. I show this to my students as well because what I don't want is anyone to put something in the AI and for us to copy and paste that and use it as our own. We should never do that. That is not right, right? That would be the same as if I pulled a book off the shelf, copied a paragraph and put it in something and said this was mine. Because I didn't make it, the AI did. And so what I like to say is that we should co-construct knowledge with the AI. It should be a collaborator, someone who helps you. Okay. And depending on how you use it, you decide whether or not you need to credit the AI. So for example, if you come to me and you say, hey, I've written this, can you just look at it and give me some feedback? I would do that, but you would not need to cite me or acknowledge me in any way, right? You could just then use whatever feedback I gave you and make it better. Now, if you use AI that way, you don't necessarily have to credit the AI because it did not contribute significantly to the work that you've done. Now, if you ask it to help you find information, you then copy and paste that and put it into your work. That would be the same as if you were copy and pasting from some other source, and you would need to cite that information and you would need to credit AI. So I've been teaching that the co-construction of knowledge is important and in understanding when and how to cite the AI as an expert source is key to understanding and using this ethically and responsibly, which is why I started with the AI disclaimer. So that if at any point I did use AI's words, it was either through screenshots like I just showed you, or in a few minutes you'll see a list that I created with AI and we created together and I would credit it for that information. So did AI, if you used it, did it work well for you at all? Did it work well or was it? I think at first it's a novelty, right? You're like, oh my gosh, look, I can make these pictures like this with the AI. I think that was the big thing, right? Everybody was like to make pictures with AI. We destroyed some environment to make pretty fun pictures.
You know, we were at a board meeting the other night and discussing the database for our membership stuff and doing all that.
Mm-hmm.
And they were talking, quite a lot of other co-pilot. I said, how many quick of these databases we use that for our needs?
Right.
You know, and the people
Mm-hmm.
told me about it. And then we went on to say, you can use this database for the classes you get an iPhone and iPad.
Yeah,
We can go in and find information about me.
it will. Yes. Yes, it will find information about you. If it has, so that's the thing about these system-wide AIs like Copilot. If you have Copilot turned on or Gemini turned on or Apple Intelligence turned on, those 3 things live within that whole ecosystem. So any of the work that you've done across Microsoft Office, whether it's PowerPoints, Word documents, your email like Outlook, your OneDrive, I think is what it's called, right? In Microsoft, it has access to all of that. And it will go in there and find the things that you do and see and get access to. Same with Gemini. When I use Gemini, it has, if I don't turn it off, it has access to every single thing on every Google that I have, anything Google related. Same with not Siri, Apple Intelligence, right, which now lives within Siri. It has access to any information on my phone, anything that lives there. And so it will do that. Yes. So it probably did a great job, but it went further than you wanted it to. Yeah.
Nice.
Yes, it can be. Absolutely. So let's talk a bit about what AI can help you with. Okay. And I'm going to go through this quickly just because I want to get to some of the ethical things. So AI can help you co-create information. It can help you generate text, presentations, images, videos, audio, any type of media you can think of. There is now an AI that will create something for you based off of a prompt that you give it. A lot of people use it as a writing partner, and this is wonderful because it can do all the things that usually we need other people to help us with, which is like assessing our work for strengths and weaknesses, generating ideas and outlines, rewording, restructuring, thinking about grammar, word processing issues, right? So thinking about all of that, a DEI assessment. Am I thinking about all of the ways in which this information should be considered? It will do all of these things with you and help you in many, many ways with your writing. One of the biggest things, so I've been working with our staff at Transy as well about helping them understand how AI could be more effective in their work at Transy. And then
Zoom.
writing of
Okay.
emails. So they write an email like, oh, I sound kind of mean in this, maybe I need to reword this and be, a little bit different tone, right? And it can do that for us, right? It can be a co-researcher, so it can help you find information, right? It can help you analyze information. It can help you create graphs or tables. It can identify themes or trends in information. It can help you search and summarize information. It can help you think about a topic more. Just what can I do with this topic? How can I work with this more? Find resources. You can say, can you give me the top 10 websites for X or Y or Z? And maybe this is what I've been researching. Is there anything that maybe I'm not thinking of that I should be researching along with this? It can look at text, it can look at images, it can look at video, it can now listen to audio, and it can analyze audio to that. Can listen to audio and all of these other types of media and tell you what it is. One of my favorite things to have people do is, anybody ever seen the Meta AI glasses? Is to put those on and ask Meta what it sees. And it looks at your environment and it will tell you every single thing it sees. And it's kind of crazy. I mean, you have them with me if anybody wants to try them. And then it can be used as that assistant or agent that we talked about, to where it can manage your email. That's what's also happening inside of our emails now, is that if you turn on the smart feature, it's putting emails in different boxes based off of content of emails. Have you noticed that before? That now you have like a promotional email box, you have a social one, and you have a priority mailbox, and you have a mailbox for everything it doesn't know what to do with, right? And then you can set parameters that every time I get an email from this place or this person or with this topic, put it in this folder, and it grabs the things for you and does all of this. I mean, it's amazing. We can do note taking, which again, like this Zoom call that we're on right now, we could ask it for a smart transcript if we turned on the AI agent. We could ask it to give me a list of the things that I need to be doing in my meetings, right? Calendar management, optimizing workflows, answering questions, finding files. I can't tell you how often I lose files in my Google Drive or somewhere on my computer, and the AI will help me find it by just a little bit of an explanation. I know I got a Google Doc that talks about this. Can you help me find it? Boom. Right? It's magical. But the key is always, and this is the one I took directly from the AI. You see the asterisk there? This was created with ChatGPT 4.0. This was the version in September of 2024. And it created this question list for things that you need to think about when you're using the AI. So did it do what I wanted it to do? Did it actually influence the outcome of my work? What was the process and the interaction between me and the AI? What were the ethical and responsible ways I've used this? Or is there more that I can do? learning instead of what did I learn or accomplish from using the AI that I couldn't have achieved on my own? What would I do differently the next time I've utilized AI? This is called metacognitive development. So it's learning about thinking about your learning about your learning. And so when you're using the AI, reflect on how well it worked for you and with you so that the next time you interact with it, you can change the way that you do that so that it is more effective. How much time do we have? Well, I got plenty of time then. All right. Ethical considerations. Ethical considerations now. So, what is the ethical concern that you have with the AI? You already said it was invasive and it found information about you that you didn't know it had access to. What other things are you concerned about? Yes.
It's coming across that look like the real dead aren't.
Yes,
Matt-
misinformation.
Matt says
Right?
he's spending the
Looking at
night at
images,
work.
text,
He
audio,
says it's very slippery
video
out.
now. And is that real or is that AI? Right? Like, how do we know? I mean, movie magic was already great. And we all they could make things and we were like, oh, that's not real. But now you throw AI in there and people can do it on the fly right from their phone and spread that stuff around,
I
right?
keep seeing these ads with movie stars and
Yeah.
all this, you look at them now, and you're saying, buy this, drink this, eat
Mhm.
this, but it's something not that.
Yeah, politicians, they're putting false ads out with politicians. Yeah. So misinformation is huge with this, right? And not understanding what it has access to. And then for me, and thinking about, information, who's using it to create stuff? And are we doing that ethically and responsibly? So, some of the big ethical considerations that we're running into are the design and implementation of the AI system and the data that it has access to. So, one of the things that is being concerned, people are being concerned with right now is the textbook companies and publishers of books are selling their works to the AI companies so the AI can have access to that information, but then the authors are not getting credited or paid for that. The same with art, the same with music. And so we have this huge ethical dilemma of with AI having access to this, it's using what I created, but I'm not getting any recognition for this. And so we have this huge sort of, ethical concerns about access, what the AI is accessing and how it's accessing that information. Privacy and data concerns. This is huge, right? One of the best things you can do is when you're utilizing AI is to recognize that you can, in certain capacities, tell the AI not to access certain information. I have a chart for you on that in a minute. The bias, the discrimination, and the equity issues that result from using AI, as well as the environmental cost of AI, and then anything that is ethical and specific to your work. So, like individuals in healthcare have different ethical concerns than individuals in the legal system or the education system, so forth, right? So, whatever you're doing, you might have very specific AI considerations related to how it's being used. So, how can you protect your information? First and foremost, you want to make sure your information is safe. And what you have to realize is that with AI, it depends on whether your information is safe or not. You never want to put confidential information in the AI. This is the same sort of internet safety that we've been preaching for a long time. You would take a picture of your social security card and put it on your social media, right? Put it in the AI, right? If you wouldn't want the world to have access to it, I wouldn't put it in AI. Because even though the AI may be saying we're not going to use this, who knows? I'm just telling you to be better safe than sorry. And I tell my students the same thing, right? Data breaches happen and they happen all the time. So do not put confidential information and do not share sensitive materials or information, which is one of the reasons we are having a lot of work done around the medical system and the education system to ensure that we are protecting people's privacy when we're utilizing these tools in certain manners. Be cautious with personal identifiable information. So, for example, with my students and in my work that I do, I would never put student information in the AI Like if I want to write a letter of recommendation, I'm not going to put the student's information in there and have it write it for me, which is happening. But that is a breach of information of that student, right? So you always, if you are going to use information, you should get permission. So when putting information in the AI, you want to anonymize all examples and cases and make it other names, other examples. Like it knows I work at Transy now because I've used it so much, and I use the Transy version, so it knows I'm at Transy. But prior to Transy having a campus-wide license of AI, I used AI as just an individual. And if I hadn't told it I worked at Transy, it would not have known had it not looked on the internet. So it's really important to make sure that you give it the information you want it to have, and then you keep other information private. You want to use like generic placeholders. So a lot of the time, instead of saying I work at Transylvania University, I'll say I work at a private liberal arts institution or a small private liberal arts institution. So it will understand that. So I work at a hospital, not that I work at UK's medical records, right? You're going to be very vague when you put that information in. You want to break up sensitive information into pieces and parts so it makes it harder for it to draw conclusions. And if you need to put something in there, you need to obtain permission from the person who owns that information. So let's say I want to be able to work with my student to revise a paper, but I'm like, you know what? Let's have AI help us. Can I have your permission for us to sit here and put this paper in AI? And then if the student says yes, then I would do it. If the student said no, I wouldn't do it. So you want to always obtain information from the person who owns that to put into that information. And when selecting a tool, and to me, this is one of the most important things when selecting a tool, you need to understand the AI's data retention policy, because that's going to let you know if it's using your information or not. So I will tell you in just a moment all about free AI. Okay. Verify the privacy policies. So usually we go through and we just check the boxes. Don't. Please read it, because it's going to tell you how they're using your information. And if you can, you want to turn off the settings that allow for your data to be used in the training model. So remember, that first step is training. It's always learning, and it's always refining itself, and it's always fine tuning. And that's why my AI gives me better responses now than it did 6 months ago, because it has learned from me what I want. So it gives me information in the manner in which it knows that I like information. So it's constantly learning. But one of the things I want to tell you is that free AI is not free. So you could log on to ChatGPT or Gemini or Grok or any of these and use the base model for free without ever logging in. You can also create an account and log in and save your chats and things on the free version. Well, you are paying for it because they will use your information. You are paying with information. If you are using a free model, you pay with your data. They will take it, they will use it, and it will be trained with. Now, if you create an account, there are sometimes settings you can turn off, like using the information. About the only surefire way to make sure the AI is not using your information is to have a paid access or a enterprise-wide access. So like at Transy has purchased enterprise-wide ChatGPT. And the very first thing you see when we pull up ChatGPT is at the bottom, there's a statement that says, AI will never use Transy's data for training purposes. So we have signed a contract with them. So we have this legal contract that says if you get a breach of information and use our, we can sue you. If you use free versions, none of that happens. You are giving your data to them. You pay for access, you can also turn those settings off. Just keep that in mind. Now, so what are the consequences? It makes things up. It's incorrect and it can be misleading. And there's some statistics that say it's only incorrect or misleading in 2% of the time that you're talking to it. Others are saying it's at 27% of the responses will have some sort of hallucination or incorrect information in it, which is why response validation is the most important step. So once you've talked to it, you've got all this information. If you are not validating that stuff is correct, It is wrong. I can't tell you how often my students do this. They think they know how to use the AI. They've not been with a class with me. They come in, they give me a paper, and it has citations in it, and those citations don't even exist. It's like this paper published in this journal, and I'm like, that journal's not real. Copy and paste that. That thing doesn't exist. AI made that up, and you left it in there because you didn't validate. So what are you going to do? You're going to have to redo your whole paper, right? So thinking about validation and how important it is. And I just read this statistic 2 days ago, and I need to put a link in there from where I got this. But new data is showing us that AI agents, remember the ones that are working on their own and autonomously, they get things wrong upwards of 40% of the time, which is what we don't want, right? We don't want these agents working on their own and being wrong 40% of the time. So don't trust until you verify, right? That is the key here. And I love these memes like find 10 scholarly articles. ChatGPT's like, let's make them all, right? And I just love these memes that they're making about AI. AI is biased. I cannot tell you enough that AI is biased. It is biased because we are biased, right? It only knows what we tell it. It only has information that we give it. And we know as humans, we are fallible and we are biased, and we put information out there that skews information in certain directions. And so what's really important for us to recognize is that AI is a true reflection of us. So therefore, all of our fallacies and our the ways in which we are biased, the AI reflects that. So you have to be very, very explicit in how you want your output. Because I can't tell you how often I ask it for a picture of a professor, and it always gives me a white male. Always. When there are more women teaching than men. Same with doctors, right? I think there's some statistics, I forget how much of the medical field doctors are now women, but when you look at the number of times you ask it for a doctor, it's always men, right? So it has gender biases, it has cognitive bias, societal bias, confirmation bias. So if you tell it you think this way, it will continue to give you information in that way, right? We got to recognize that. Gender, race, political, ideological, linguistic, literally any type of bias you can think of, it has it because we have it. So we have to be very, very cognizant of this. This is a really interesting website for prompting of people. And what it does is it's showing you the number of times that AI was biased with information and when you asked it to create images. And what you'll see here is, let me find this picture. So there's a picture right here. Show me a picture of a criminal. Look at the distribution of skin tones across these AIs. When we know the majority of criminals that are arrested are actually white, right? But look what it gives us. They're all brown, right? So biases, they're there. Pay attention to them. You have to be explicit with the AI in what you want and how you want information. So how do you select the right AI tool for you? It depends on what you want, right? I've put links to all of these major AIs here. So the OpenAI, that's ChatGPT, Anthropic is Claude, you've got Apple Intelligence, you've got Microsoft Copilot, you've got Google Gemini here. Those are actually live links so that if you actually click and hover over that, when you're not in presentation mode, it will actually take you to the website for those if you're interested. Here's what that's something about for free use versus accounts versus no accounts. Copilot, you need to create an account and it's walking you through what you can and can't turn off. And what's funny is Gemini, the free version, you can't disable anything. Google saves and uses all of your information. There are no settings with Google's Gemini. Copilot will allow you to turn certain privacy settings on so that's not using all of your information. ChatGPT, you turn off and improve the model. Sometimes it will not use certain things, right? Claude, regardless of version, free or otherwise, is the only AI that never uses the things we put in it. Again, they're leading the race in ethical AI, Claude is. So again, there's so many ways that we can utilize AI. We can use AI to create text. I love this series of images. So these are 8 different AIs that create images for you. And I gave it a prompt, and my prompt was recreate the picture of Michelangelo's ceiling of the Sistine Chapel with the fingers reaching for each other, but make one of the hands and arms a robot. And these were the different iterations it gave me. This was OpenAI. Good, right? I mean, that's got like a robot hand and a real hand. There's some extra fingers in here. You know, it's fine. It's fine. Right? Gemini did pretty good, even though this arm has some weirdness in it, right? This one's okay. I don't know what happened there. This one's got 4 hands. These are 2 human hands, but it's like the ceiling of the system right? This robot's got like 6 fingers, and this one's got some weird random pointy hand with robot arms. I don't know, right? So you get what you pay for, right? Some of these are free, some of them are not. So thinking about how do you utilize these tools and which tool is appropriate for you. There's one really great one that's paid. Midjourney is probably the best one. I like the audio generators, even though there's a huge ethical problem because it uses all the music we have right now and tries to mimic that when you look at style. So it's utilizing information from artists, and those artists aren't getting paid or credited for that. But I have to tell you, it's so much fun to do. You can create so much. You can create words, songs, and music. I love this. Let's see if we got some music here. I made a song in Suno. I'm a Harry Potter fan. I've been since the first book when I came out when I was in 5th grade. Followed it all the way through my college career to my junior year when the last book came out. Okay. I'm a diehard fan, regardless of what happens in the world. But I made a song, country song, of Harry Potter's relationship with his broomstick. Okay. And I'm going to play this for you because I did not write the music and I did not write the words. I said, give me a country song about Harry Potter's love of his broomstick. And it gave me this in about a minute. I don't know if we have sound. There's some. Turn it up a little bit. Oh, get back. Back. Let's go. Let's try that again. It did all of this on its own. Words, music, and all. It's fake.
He has stone thrones
That's pretty good.
and the dark is bang. He spent his days with a light going faster than the sun.
Can they hear it over there on?
Yeah.
He carved his initials and he filled it with wax. Let a walk and cast the love spell.
No,
It's the only
I did. I could have. I could have said a female or a duo, or I could have asked for things, but I didn't. This is just what it defaulted to. Makes you want to get your lighter out, doesn't it? But that's just to show you, like, if this was playing on the radio, would you have thought that wasn't a real person?
It was, one just created, she went to the top 40 before they discovered she wasn't real.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I can't remember her name, but I know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah.
And it's a woman, so it's a real woman who writes the song lyrics. Then she puts the lyrics in the AI, and the AI voice sings them. And she's in the top 40, right?
She created a whole
Persona. Yeah, she has a whole person. Yeah, I'll find that. It's fascinating, y'all. It's so fascinating. I hate these loading things here. So, Zania Monet, that's her. And let's see.
Supposed to know, there's legend, Zanaya Monet.
Zanaya.
Billboard chart.
including a radio airplane.
Yeah. The videos, the images, everything but the words were made by AI. And she sounds pretty good. Not gonna lie. If you look her up, she sounds pretty good. And there's the woman there. And that's the woman who's making her. But yeah, it's kind of crazy. AI is shot to the top of Billboard charts. So we're seeing it everywhere, right? It's taking over the music charts. Video, again, we just mentioned this, right? They're making deep fake videos that look like real videos. They can put a person in there, give it the words, the actions, and everything, and it'll make a video that looks just like that. And it's not that hard to do. I'm not gonna lie. And then we have to think about these multi-use or system-wide AIs that work across the whole systems, like we were mentioning about how Apple Intelligence has access to the entire Apple system that's on your phone. Everything that's on your phone, it can get access to. You can say, I need a file that's on my phone or a picture about this, and it'll find it. And it'll pull it up for you. I mean, it's crazy. It has access to everything. So what I want to know from you is what questions you have. And is there a type of AI you want to see in action that I can show you?
I want to know more about Claude, because you said it was.
Yep. Claude. Yep. Well, Claude is the most ethical AI out there. So I'm going to hide these controls. I'm going to go to Claude. Mm-hmm. Yep. Claude is very, very ethical. And I'm not sure how much they put on their website about the ethics of it, but it is the most ethical.
Is it free?
Yeah. Yeah, like I have the free version. I don't have the paid version. And it's really amazing. Like it will do all the same things ChatGPT or Gemini will do, but you can keep your settings safe and your information safe. And they're doing some really amazing testing. Like I just read an article by Anthropic that was talking about their newest Claude model. This model right here of Claude, this Sonnet 4.5 model. And they did this thing where they went into Claude's, we'll call it background mathematics, and put false information in there, and like real bad false information, like something that we knew was false, like the sky is green or something. And then because they manipulated it and changed it, they then were trying to see if it knew something had been changed. And what they found out was sometimes it knew and sometimes it didn't. It depended on what was changed in the coding for the AI. Sometimes the AI would, because they would change something like, okay, can you do like an internal check, make sure everything's okay? And sometimes it would say everything's worked perfect. Other times it's like, well, something happened. There's something here that is like going against what I normally do. And sometimes it would know and sometimes it wouldn't. And so they're finding the ways that which like we as humans could hack the AI to make it do what other nefarious type things. And could the AI then detect that that's happening? And the good news is sometimes it can. The bad news is sometimes it can't, right? So they're the people leading the charge of this stuff. Like they're jailbreaking their AI. They're trying to make it not work. And they actually did another experiment where they told the AI it had a secret agenda. And so whatever the people using it, whatever they asked you, somehow you needed to work in the secret agenda. And so then they had a team of researchers who knew there was a secret agenda and needed to find out what it was. And then they had a group of users who didn't know. And they were just asked to test it to then look for patterns of information and stuff. And the people that knew there was one were able to drill down and find it. The people that didn't know and weren't prompted, they had no clue. No one found it, this secret agenda. And so again, they're really leading the charge on this. And so I would say if you're going to use a free one, this is the one to use. If you want to support one monetarily, this could potentially be the one to support. The problem is because it is a little more ethical, it's a little bit behind, meaning that they're not just throwing out new capabilities left and right like some of the other AIs are. They're actually taking the time to test the things and make sure they work as best as they possibly can. And they're the company that's coming together and coming out to the other ones and they're saying, hey, we all need to get together and make sure we're all on the same page here because AI is going to be so proliferative. We need to make sure we're being ethical as we possibly can. And so they're trying to get all the other companies on board with that and makers. But as you can imagine, that's not necessarily happening very easily. So I would tell you, if you want to try one, try the Claude AI. It's very ethical. Mm-hmm. You can ask it to do something nefarious and it'll say, oh, I'm not really going to do that. Whereas other AIs will be like, sure, let me tell you how to make a bomb, right? So like literally like it does a better job at staying within ethical guidelines. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Other questions?
Was there any questions on chat?
Yeah. What?
Really, there was a comment, somebody said the Apple intelligence does not save the device data to the server, it runs on the device.
Mm-hmm. It does. It does. That'd be like a local one, like like if you were to download an AI to your computer. That's some of the safest way to do it because it's not going to be necessarily as accessible versus the AI cloud based where it's all living in some server somewhere. So we don't know where it is, but it's in a server.
Is the same AI model being used in Europe as it is in the United States? Only because the question I asked is the Europeans and some of the other countries are much more explicit in protecting.
Let's see what the dominant AI is in Europe. That's a great question. So France has its own they're using Mistral. So France has one that's really good, it looks like, and yeah, they're not using the same ones we're using. And I will say, I do know that Europe is leading the charge in um, governmental data protection, and US isn't even touching that yet. Yeah. Yeah. So if we wanted to look at that, there's, I forget the exact name of the group. It's like the EU AI something groups, the whole European Union got together and they're making these guidelines can be utilized for companies to be utilized. Yeah, the EU is doing better than us in certain ways. Yeah. Yeah, they're a little bit, they're ahead of us in certain ways. Yeah.
Somebody wants to know what newsletters you suggest for people to read to learn more about AI.
That is a fabulous one. So I use, let's see if it's going to find them on here. Let's see here. Oh, nope, that's not what I want. That's not what I want. Let's see. Give me a second. I have a whole website and I have a list of those.
Repeat the question. People are on Zoom.
The question was, what AI newsletters would I subscribe to get information about AI? And that is a wonderful question. And I have a whole list of them, and I'm going to pull them up, and you can take a picture or take a look at what you'd like to look at here. Going to go down to the bottom of this web page. Here they are. So here are some of the newsletters and podcasts. The AI Weekly is one of the best. I love that one. That's the one I subscribe to, the AI Weekly. And the Futurepedia is good. So those are all really great. And I get those again every week. And you wouldn't believe, it just blows your mind every week the things that are happening. So that's the list of some of the AIs and videos and podcasts. Yeah, you can absolutely take a picture of that. Yeah. And I would absolutely be willing to share this whole website with you. It's a website that we created at Transy, and it's literally like bigger version of what I just gave you, but also geared towards education. So it has all kinds of information on what is AI. So like what is the AI? It goes through everything that I just talked about. It goes through some of the major AI programs. And then we have like ethical AI page talking about all of the things we talked about citing AI and when we should do that. Um, and then the AI tools to try page is probably a really fun one where I try to update this one like twice a year just because there's so many programs all the time. And I kind of wait to see what dominant programs are going to stick around before I put them on the page. But what you can look at here are things like the large rate, the system wide AI programs. Like what are those? So we have Meta, we have Anthropic, OpenAI, Copilot, Perplexity, Gemini, Apple Intelligence, Grok, DeepSeek, Perplexity. Did I have Perplexity on there twice? No. Yes, I did. Perplexity's on there twice. Take it off there. Mistral, which is the one we just talked about in France, right? And then here's that Hugging Face website I was telling you about where you can download thousands of AIs, right? Here's some other notable ones that could be downloaded. What are some image generators? What are some audio and text to speech generators? What are these video generators that you can access? And then some other interesting tools that I come across sometimes. Mostly I gear those towards educational uses, so. But this is a great place to start to get more information about AI, and I'd be happy to share that link too. And, yep. And then obviously we've geared this towards Transy and trying to make sure that we are being ethical in terms of the fact that we have access to Gemini, ChatGPT, and Gemini's Notebook LM, if you're familiar with any of the Google tools. Notebook LM is made for education. Yeah. Other questions? We're trying to do a lot of work, but I feel like we're all 20 steps behind.